Hello and welcome. My name is Kara Marsh Profit, and I serve the University of San Diego as Director of Alumni Operations and Engagement. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's session, The Power of We, the Impact of Community on Our Mental Health. Today's session is co-hosted by the USD Alumni Association and our Sacramento Torero Club. The mission of the Alumni Association is to engage and enrich the Torero community for life. Today's session certainly aims to do just that, especially as we find ourselves in the month of May, which happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month. A few housekeeping items before we get started. We're using Zoom webinar today, which means you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the broadcast. Please use the Q&A feature to post questions for our presenter. You may upvote questions as well. Today's session is being recorded and will be posted to the Alumni Association's YouTube channel next week. A special hello to anyone who is watching this recording. I'd now like to introduce one of my colleagues, Veronica Varela Reyes, who serves the university as the Associate Director of Regional Torero Clubs. Veronica, welcome to the screen.
Thanks, Kara. Hi, everyone. As Kara mentioned, my name is Veronica Varela Reyes, and I lead the University of San Diego's Regional Programming Initiative over here at the Office of Alumni Relations. I'm thrilled to be here with you all. As Kara alluded to, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and while self-care is important, today we're focusing on something even bigger, community care. Have you ever felt like you were carrying the weight of the world on your own? Here's a secret. You weren't meant to. In a world that often prioritizes hustle and self-reliance, we've forgotten one of the most powerful tools for our well-being, each other. During today's session, we will hear from Dr. Troy M. Williams on how community isn't just a nice to have, it is a mental health essential. Before we begin, let me tell you a bit more about Dr. Troy M. Williams. Dr. Williams is a community-based researcher and evaluator with more than a decade of experience in entrepreneurship, public health, and community engagement. He has partnered with agencies across the United States, to address systemic challenges, co-create solutions with community members, and lead in-depth program evaluations. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Deeper Cuts Therapy. He's a proud Torero, graduating from the School of Leadership and Education in 2015 with a Master of Arts in Leadership Studies. Troy, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and for sharing your mental health insights with the Torero community. I will now hand it over to you for the presentation. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here today. And yeah, I just want to talk to y'all about the power of community and the power of we. And I kind of want to begin, we could go to the next slide, just talking about my time at USD. So my bio didn't really get into this, but I have been working my entire life to create safe spaces for Black communities specifically. From since I was in middle school, organizing block parties, being a professional party promoter for almost 10 years, and also being an event coordinator at the Black Resource Center after I graduated. But when I was at USD, I worked to create safe Black spaces oftentimes, and that went from, Bible studies. I was a resident minister, and into trips to Jamaica, which you see some of these pictures here. From on the picture to the right, I was headed to Jamaica with a group of graduate students. And I was always thankful for those spaces at USD, from the Mulvaney Center to the Black Resource Center to University Ministry, for always making space for me, always making me feel well, healthy and happy, and just ensuring that my mental health was in great shape. So yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So here I want to talk about the loneliness epidemic, right? Because I think it's important to understand that healing is a group sport. Healing is something that we often have to do in community. So I have the definition for loneliness here. Loneliness is a feeling that occurs when our need for social contact and relationships isn't met. And in 2023, there was a study that found that there are millions of people that suffer from the loneliness epidemic, and that they're often needed to address things. So like I said, I've always understood the importance of people having access to spaces where they can belong and establish healthy relationships and build communities. So when I began my PhD, I was intent on theorizing the components of Black civil societies. I wanted to understand the safe spaces and counterpublics that Black people specifically created to protect them, improve upon their mental health. Now, keep in mind, when I was conducting this research, this was following the 2020 risings. I graduated in 2021. There was so many things that was happening at this time, and I wanted to understand how Black civil societies could be used specifically to address health disparities, such as suicide rates, right, and racism and inequality. We can move on to the next slide. So in my research, I began to look into what social isolation. So my research was on the opioid epidemic, and specifically how it impacted Black communities. And at that time, there was about there were in Madison, Wisconsin, where my research was conducted. African Americans were overdosing at 2 times the rate as their white counterpart, and they only made up about 2% of the population. So we wanted to figure out why that was. So we began to conduct focus groups, and when we began to speak with community members, they told us that the reason why they were overdosing at such high rates was because they were lonely and they didn't know what to do and they were bored, and they began to use drugs to deal with that isolation. And we began to talk to them and discuss and have these focus groups about those things. And as we dug into the public health research, we found that loneliness is linked to a wide range of mental and physical health conditions. This included depression, anxiety, cognitive decline, increased suicide risk, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. And we wanted to figure out why that was. So this kind of began to spark my interest, and we could go on to the next slide. So I wanted to bridge that gap between understanding specifically space and health. My PhD is in human ecology. And what that means is that I study systems, people, and how we create healthy ecosystems for our community. So I wanted to bridge that gap and figure out what that is specifically that allows people to do that. So we could go on to the next slide. So these are the 2 books that kind of anchored my work. The first book to the right is Palaces for the People, was written by sociologist Eric Kleinenberg. He writes about social infrastructure. Eric Kleinenberg posits that social infrastructures provides youth safe spaces to play, adults safe places to find jobs, other folks places to socialize, and it proves their ability to connect with their community and build and make these connections, right? And like I said, the opposite of addiction and many other mental health things are social connection. Now, the other book that I use is The Great Good Place. In this book, Ray Oldenburg talks about the first space is your home, your second space is your job, and the third place is somewhere where you can go informally and be able to make connections. He said that his research showed that on average, human beings laugh about 17 times a day. If a person has access to a third place, they laugh about 107 times per hour. And I found that to be really amazing. So I wanted to figure out how I can utilize these 2 bodies of literature to be able to address that gap in the health and specifically addressing mental health. And we could go on to the next slide. This idea of social infrastructure really sparked my interest because if the public health literature was saying that people with more social connections live healthier lives, and Eric Kleinenberg was saying that social infrastructure is needed to create social connections, then what does that mean for communities that don't have access to either one of those things, right? When there are spaces, when they go into these spaces, they are arrested, they are harassed, and punished. And when they try to socialize in these spaces, that isn't allowed. So I created this theory. It's published in a paper called Black Third Spaces. And I define Black Third Spaces. They're recreational, impermanent, community-based spaces that provide emotional and psychological support to Black people. These spaces range from a brick and mortar location like a library, beauty salon, gym, or transient groups where people in different and transient groups of individuals who gather in different locations, such as a writers group and basketball league. Now, that last sentence I kind of want to focus on because many of the folks who we spoke about talked about how their mental health improved when these different types of transient groups were created. And they also spoke about oftentimes they had to be mobile because sometimes the spaces that they were creating they were often displaced. And that also impacted their mental health. So having that in mind as well. We can move on to the next slide. So in my work, as I began to think about this, I wanted to realize how community can be the cure to addressing these types of disparities. And I wanted to address specifically what folks can do and what I did, and that's where we're going next. I was interested in understanding how social infrastructure created these frequent face-to-face interactions with our community and what people can do. So I wanted to first give you these tips for what people can do in their community to address if they're having mental health challenges. So first, the thing that I always say, and this is backed by research, this is evidence-based, first finding an organization that is local that you can connect with and work with, joining a fitness community. So a free one that a lot of folks join are local run clubs, their yoga studios, going to public libraries because they have a lot of programs that are free and affordable, participating in a local community market. Those are great. And also joining a local creative collective. Now, if we go on to the next slide, I'll begin to talk about how this work transitioned, how my research transitioned into the current work that I'm doing. And I'm sorry that my email keeps going off. I am very popular today for some reason. So after I finished my dissertation, I wanted to figure out how I can utilize these third spaces to impact the health of the community that I was working and living in. And the research showed that there are many different places that people go to congregate to be able to be poured into. So the first place that I looked at historically were churches. There's a lot of research that speaks about the impact of that. There are also gyms, like I have on the other thing, but the last place that a lot of folks talk about are these barbershops and beauty salons. And I wanted to figure out what I can do with barbershops and beauty salons. So after graduating, I ended up getting a job with the Urban League in Sacramento. The Urban League is the second oldest civil rights organization in the United States. And we were able to create a program called Cut to the Chase. And what Cut to the Chase was a barbershop and beauty salon mental health initiative that brought those therapists inside barbershops and beauty salons, and it was phenomenal. After doing Cut to the Chase for about a year, let's go back one more time. I'll get into that. After doing Cut to the Chase for about a year or so, we then began to, I wanted to do this on my own. So we created, my business partner and I, he's a nurse, we created Deeper Cuts Therapy. So Deeper Cuts Therapy is a response to the deliberate disinvestment of health and well-being across the United States. Our business model is based on the understanding that healing comes through connections, quality care, and meeting people inside spaces they already trust. So let's move on. So we created this initiative for Black men and women, and it has three primary points. The first point is group therapy sessions, which I kind of brought up. So we met weekly at different barbershops across Sacramento, and we worked in barbershops and beauty salons. Next, we offered one-on-one health sessions for the community. So clients who expressed interest received long-term care for therapists, and they were referred to a clinician for a free 50-minute session. And our grant funding that we had provided that mental health services for them. So we had quite a few people who were able to take advantage of that. Additionally, we were able to produce some stigma reduction resources. So we put together like pamphlets and handouts with celebrities and people in the Black community that spoke about the positive impacts of going to a therapist and having improved mental health. We can move on to the next slide. So these were some of our metrics that we had. So over a 3-year period, we were able to serve over 2,000 people. Over 150 of those folks signed up for long-term care. And this commitment to quality therapy has resulted in a significant client engagement and satisfaction, as evidenced from the substantial number of clients and long-term care enrollments. Unfortunately, funding for this program just ended in March. And we are still trying to think through how we can continue to serve because the community misses it a great deal up here in Sacramento. We can move on to the next slide. So, as we continue to go on, we wanted to think what are more innovative ways that we can do to bring mental health services into our community to work with them. So we created this event called the R&B Running Series. The R&B Running Series, our purpose for this is every kilometer, there's a DJ playing R&B music. At the end of that run, there is a R&B concert, and there's also a mental health fair. So the R&B Running Series, our next event is coming up on May the 16th. For this week, we have about a dozen mental health providers. We also have local colleges that have mental health programs because a lot of people are very interested in a lot of people who are very interested in these types of services. So we allow them to be able to talk to schools about if they're able to go to school and things. So our goal is we have listed here. Our first goal is to raise mental health awareness. Secondly, we want to promote well-being, foster community, and support local businesses. So this program kind of addresses the biopsychosocial things. We're trying to address all of those things in one run. So yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So these are our success metrics. Last year was our inaugural year. We had over 634 people come out to that run. 48 of those attendees connected with minority-owned therapy practice, and 67% of our race participants said that they walked away with new connections. So that was a huge, huge win for us that we were very excited about. We can move on. So while we were doing our group therapy sessions, a lot of our clients began to speak about, we had enough funding to be able to cover over two, all the people who came to the sessions. We could have paid for individual sessions for all of them, but a lot of the folks wouldn't utilize it. And when we asked them why, they said that we don't want to do it because we don't know what to do in therapy. So we created these journals called the Deeper Cuts Therapy Journal that kind of assists people who may be brand new to therapy on what to do. And it allows people to journal before, during, and after therapy sessions. And the feedback has been phenomenal. We just completed a Kickstarter. I just got back from my first trade show / conference, and it's been great. And we've been selling a lot of them. And we also have these affirmation cards that are here because a lot of our clients, because many of them are like very successful folks, they talk quite a bit about imposter syndrome and not being able to have the confidence to be able to navigate a lot of things. So we created these affirmation cards so that they're able to, kind of build themselves up. So those are our two products. And I think that may be it. Next slide. Yeah, these are my references. And yeah, I look forward to some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Troy. I did receive some questions for this Q&A section in advance. So while I have some of our folks, a brief reminder, please submit your questions via the Q&A function. I'm more than happy to ask Dr. Troy about these. So the first question I received in advance states, it is often difficult to find a community in a new environment. And in my work, I often see the hunger from toreros across the nation for this. For those who have moved to a new city, what is the very first micro habit you recommend for building a support system from scratch?
Absolutely. Oh, this is a great question. So I will speak specifically about my experience as a torero. I started USD in my master's program when I was 28 years old. I moved all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, and I was very lonely. So I think that for me, the first thing that I did was I went to everything that the graduate school in our program offered. So the welcome weeks, the resident minute, the university ministry programs, the initiatives that any student organization or things we're putting on until I found my folks. And I started, so my experiences as a graduate student, so I don't have much insight on what an undergraduate student can do, but I just attempted to connect with my community there first, right? So with my cohort, I was able to build connections because we were able to find an interest in our academics. After that, the place where I truly found community in San Diego was Southeast San Diego. I started going to the barbershops over there, right off Imperial. I started going to hang out over there and just trying to, oh, I started going to church over there, just trying to find community as much as possible outside of the campus. San Diego is a huge city, and there's so many pockets and communities that you can find. And I also would say I found community at different events. There's an event that happens in San Diego by one of my friends. It's called Soul Sunday. It's live music. It's great vibes. It's really good community, and there's a lot of new research out about the impact on dancing with music has on your brain, right? So being able to just go into those spaces that are fun and exciting, even if you don't know anyone, standing up and singing in unison to those things lifts your spirits and improves your health. So there are a lot of groups in the San Diego area that focus on those things, and I would just encourage to get out of the bubble of USD and try to find those communities. But I would first try to find that community on campus and then begin to think through what that would look like off campus.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Troy. There's another question that says, is there a magic number for a support system? Do folks need a massive village, or is the mental health benefit the same with just 2 or 3 deep connections?
Yes. Oh man, this is so great. So I have to shout out my buddy Austin. He works in the Mulvaney Center. I was just in San Diego the other day, and he said something that was so brilliant. I've been telling everybody this, and I've been taking credit for it. I'm sorry, Austin, if you're listening. He said that in the work that we're doing in community, you need to make a decision if you are going to have connections that are an inch wide and a mile deep, or a mile wide and an inch deep. And I think that's important for the work that we do, but I'll dovetail that into what the science actually says about that. Research shows that people only have about 5 close friends, right? So I would say if you're shooting for a number, if you're like, try and ask for all that, I need a number. The research shows that if you have five quality connections, you're in great shape. But I would also say for you, just think through what it is that your goals are. I would say if you want to be a politician, having those inch deep, mile wide connections may be very helpful for you. But if you're looking to go into a community and root yourself in it and have great, I think having 5 mile deep connections would be phenomenal for your mental health. So it's truly up to you.
Beautiful. One last question from some emails that I received this morning. How do we practice community care when our community is also potentially burnt out?
Hmm. Oh, that's really good. How do we practice community care when our community is burnt out? That is such a great question. I'm sitting with that because I am one of the burnt out ones. I think that um, so I'm a man of faith, and that's one of the reasons why I love USD, because it's a Catholic university. And I remember the Bible story where someone asked Jesus, they said, Jesus, what is your most important lesson? What is something that you want us to be able to take? What's one lesson that we should value? And Jesus responded and said that treat your neighbor the way that you want to be treated. I think that throughout all of the things that you are doing, all the things that you are attempting to navigate, if you could just remember to, even if you are burnt out, just remember to be kind to people. And that you may not get that right every time, but as long as you're trying as best as you can to treat people the way that you want to be treated, I think it's important. Yesterday, I had instance where I'm a really cool, chill temperament type of person, but I went to Berkeley recently and they charged my credit card twice. And when I spoke to a person who worked at the front desk, they said that, oh, we'll give you some points to be able to deal with this. We apologize for that because, taking out that much money at once, that could have been really detrimental to me. So one person said that they would. When I followed back up and called the hotel again, the person said, no, they lied to you. That's not true. And I got angry and I said, I'll call you back, but not so nicely. But I hung up on them. I hung up on them and I was very rude. And I was convicted by that though, right? Because they may just have been following the rules. And I tell that story just to say sometimes you may not get it right, but as long as that you're trying as best as you possibly can to, hold your community with care and love on people who need that love, I think that's the most important thing.
That is so important.
Yeah.
Leading with care and love and kindness. I have one more question. You are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. That is a quote by Jim Rohn. This comes to mind about building community.
Mhm.
How can we pivot our close relationships to help us achieve our personal and professional goals?
Mhm. Yes, I like that. So this is a section actually in the journal that we created about that, and I wish I had it handy. Do I? No. So in the journal, we have this thing where we kind of outline like a map for what folks can do in regards to professional goals. This is the like I wish I knew this when I was young. The first thing that you should do when you are young and trying to come up in the world, if you know what industry or profession that you want to be, find that professional organization and become a member, right? If you're interested in being an evaluator, I was a program evaluator, joining American Evaluation Association. If you're interested in being a nurse, join Black Nurses Association. If you're interested in being whatever it is, finding that network, finding that community, because the beautiful thing about joining those professional networks is that there are people who are OGs, who are veterans, who are retired, who have a very large Rolodex that are more than willing to pour into you and give you opportunities. Additionally, the way that I found that I've grown the most is like people within my same age range. So find these communities, once I'm able to find these communities that are within my network, then I found that I have been able to grow at a much faster rate. And I would also say, just also with growing professionally, I think how much time that you're spending thinking about your goals and profession and what you want to do. Now, I'm not saying to you that every single day you need to be reading and writing and doing these things, but I would say at least once a week, um, read a book. Find one book and read a chapter in that book per week about what it is that you want to do and in your field. And I think that that greatly allows you to be able to speak more intensely and intentionally about the work that you're doing. Journaling is a huge thing because it allows you to process. And after you journal, go back into that journal and then look at the progress that you've made and look at how your perspective and views on things have shifted as well. And I would say, most importantly, I think, and no people probably say this often, is just like going out and having fun and experiencing life allows you to get a different perspective of things that you may not even been thinking of before. So for instance, I went to this that conference and trade show, and there was a woman selling no, dogs, that allowed you to change the mouth if the dog was sad, change the eyes if the dog was sad. And her line for her product was wrapped around the building. And me going into that, I said, huh, I need to develop something for kids, and I think that just being able to go to those types of spaces and seeing that it's really beneficial for you. So yeah.
That is so beautiful. And along the lines of like maintaining your energy, we received another question along the vein of being burned out as well. As an employee, spouse, parent, volunteer, how do we balance the idea of building community with the need to decompress?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I do. The communities that I have to, so I am a 40-year-old man. I am married. I have two kids. I have my own business. And I'm just a very busy person. I lead a bunch of organizations, blah, 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 blah. What I have found to be most helpful is when I am able to do things in community with others. And what I mean by that, I'm in a group of Black fathers that live in my area. We'll text each other and say, yo, what time y'all hitting the gym? And it'll be about 4 or 5 of us in community going to the gym together. So we're encouraging each other, we're laughing, we're talking trash, and we're able to build and ask, like, hey, what a lot of them are, most of them are professors, lawyers, doctors in the medical field and all of those things, and us being able to come together. We don't come together as much as we should, but being able to like blend those two things together is very helpful. The way that my wife put it is like our her best friend has a Tesla, and the fact that she could charge her Tesla at work and get a parking spot up front because that's where the Tesla charges are, allows her like, all right, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the more that you could just kind of like figure out how to do both of these things. Think of our run. You're able to run and meet a mental health provider. Think of the barbershop initiative. People are able to get their hair cut and also meet and get therapy. So thinking through what are these things that you could kind of bring together. If you have children, scheduling play dates with parents that you like, so you're able to connect with those parents. I think being able to bridge those gaps, that has been a cheat code for me, and just knowing that um, the way that someone told me in my PhD program is that balance is like a figment of our imagination. Like we'll never have true balance, right? Like sometimes you're going to be doing extremely well in one area and not so well in another area. But as much as you possibly can, just try to get as much stuff as right as possible and do your best. On my wall, I write on my kids, today will be a great day. And they say this out loud every day. Today will be a great day and I will do my best. As long as you know when you hit the bed at night that I truly did my best, I did the best that I could, then I think that also like improves your mental health and allows you to be able to sleep a little bit more soundly.
Today will be a great day and I will do my best. I will
Yes.
definitely take these words along with me after this conversation. We do have one more question, and you mentioned kids, Dr. Troy. What are some tips to encourage kids to engage with community productively? For example, picking friends that are kind, respectful, while respecting their independence and personal choices.
Jesus. Um, So I can only speak to my experience as a father on this. I have not read any literature or done any research on this, so I'll speak to my experience as a father. I remember my 5-year-old when he was going to preschool, and my wife and I worked very hard. We're both PhDs. We both were, six-figure earners, worked extremely hard, first generation folks. And we worked to put our children in the best like private schools in Sacramento. And my son kept getting bit and he kept getting hit. And he's just so kind. I mean, actual bite marks. And what I have found is that my son, no matter what, I would say, "Hey, hit them back." Now, Daddy, they're still working on that. I just didn't like the idea of my son being bullied, but my son, he was just so kind. He was saying, "No, Daddy, they need more love, they need more attention, they need." So my son, my advice was always, defend yourself with my son, but my son is just so warm and kind and loving that I've been blessed to like where my children, they just make really good decisions and they remind me of how I should be leading, because it's very challenging when you're putting your kids out in the world, to kind of let them go and make their own decisions. But my sons have just been really, really great. So what I attempt to do is just encourage them to set as many boundaries and just know. And what I've also learned as a father is that they're just watching. They watch how you interact with people. They watch what you do, and they mimic that. So I've been very appreciative of my sons and their temperament and how they handle and navigate the world. So as much as we want to, we can try to create this amazing infrastructure and you need to do this and you need to do that, son. But with my children, what my lesson has been is that, they kind of figure it out on their own. Yeah.
with great guidance from their very well-educated parents, which is lovely. Well, we are now at time, and as I wrap up, I just wanted to share a little bit of what Dr. Troy shared. Just a quick recap. Community is the cure. Volunteer with a local organization, join a fitness community, visit your local library, participate in a community market, join a creative collective, and keep a quote above your desk, your home, that today will be a great day and I will do my best. That is something that I want to leave today, and I will now write this on my board in my office. Um, One of the things that I wanted to share with you all as well is please stay connected. Dr. Troy wants to connect with you. He is based out of Sacramento. If you are in the area, reach out to Dr. Williams. Go to the run if you have time this weekend. Dr. Troy, are you still taking RSVPs for the run this weekend?
Yes, and if any folks are interested, you can participate virtually as well. You can use code USD for a 5% discount. Go Toreros.
Go Toreros. And if you're tuning in from any other area in the country, I've gone ahead and listed out some of our regional programs that are happening this month, next month, and throughout the summer. So please stay tuned for that note with the link to our calendar of events. Shortly, my colleague Kara will be adding the NPS survey to the chat as well. I'd love to see your feedback for this webinar and any other ideas you might have for future virtual webinars. I'm just so thankful to Dr. Troy Williams for joining us today. Thank you for your service to the University of San Diego, and go Toreros.